Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top breakout candidates for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 players that I believe are going to have a breakout season for fantasy football in 2021. Inside the video, I'm going to be going in depth into each and every single player and explaining exactly why I believe 2021 is going to be their breakout season. But before we get into the video, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask that if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me, I tweet a bunch about fantasy football. Please make sure to follow me on there at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into the video. My first top breakout candidate for fantasy football in 2021 is T. Higgins, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals, current underdog ADP wide receiver number 23 off of the board, overall pick 45.80. So he's sitting right now at the end of the 4th round. A lot of the time you are seeing T. Higgins fall into the 5th round. Now, comparing T. Higgins to Jamar Chase, originally earlier on in the offseason, it seemed as though a lot of people were very excited to draft Jamar Chase over T. Higgins, but in a majority of drafts I am in as of recently, T. Higgins has been easily going over Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase has struggled immensely in training camp. He struggled in preseason. In training camp, this man was not able to get separation against the corners of the Bengals. If I was able to put a sentence in bold, that is exactly what I would do to what I just said. Jamar Chase could not get separation up against the Cincinnati Bengals defensive backs. The Cincinnati Bengals defense, one of the worst defenses in the NFL in my opinion. Jamar Chase can't get open. Jamar Chase was drafted very, very early on in the 2021 NFL draft. And the reason for his struggle right now is because he hadn't played football in 2020. Sure, technically he played football in 2020 when they had the national championship game, but his last year in college was 2019. He opts out 2020 and goes to the NFL in 2021. I believe this is going to be a very big case of rust for Jamar Chase that's going to make him potentially struggle early on in the season. And that is going to open the door even further for T. Higgins to solidify himself as the #1 wide receiver target on the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year, in 16 games, T. Higgins finished as the wide receiver number 28 in PPR, 30.5 PPR, and the wide receiver number 28 in standard, averaging 12.2 PPR points per game, 10.1 half PPR points per game, and 8 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, T. Higgins was the wide receiver 40 in PPR, 39.5 PPR, and the wide receiver number 47 in standard, having 108 total targets on the season, 6.8 per game, 0.1 off of being very nice with 6.9 per game, ranking 27th at wide receiver, 67 receptions, 4.2 per game, ranking 29th, 908 receiving yards, 56.8 per game, ranking 26th, with 6 total touchdowns on the season, with a 19.1% target share in the Bengals offense, ranking 44th. Now, those numbers, obviously, they don't look amazing. Having 108 targets with just 67 receptions seems bad. It seems like, hey, maybe T. Higgins is a bad wide receiver. But you have to keep in mind what last season was like for T. Higgins. T. Higgins went into the year as the #1 wide receiver on the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow. And then halfway through the season, Joe Burrow was ripped from him. They had multiple quarterbacks play in relief of Joe Burrow, including Brandon Allen, as well as Ryan Finley. So things definitely didn't go T. Higgins' way once Joe Burrow ended up getting hurt, because the offense took a humongous hit not having the #1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft being their starting quarterback. But with how bad the defense is there in Cincinnati, I believe this is going to be a team that is just launching the pigskin game in and game out. We saw that happen last season when Joe Burrow was under center, this was one of the most pass-heavy teams in the National Football League, and I believe that's going to continue into 2021. And if T. Higgins is the #1 target on this team, like I believe he is, because of the struggles of Jamar Chase, then T. Higgins is an extreme value at wide receiver 23 off the board and could easily be a top 12 wide receiver if he's the #1 guy and they're throwing the ball as much as I believe they are going to in 2021. But before we get on into the breakdown of my next top breakout candidate, I would like to give you guys a quick word from Yahoo Best Ball. You have probably played in a Yahoo Fantasy Football League in the past, but if you haven't tried their Best Ball, then you are missing out. With leagues ranging from free to $500, Yahoo has the best Best Ball leagues for every single type of player. Use our Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit with your Yahoo Best Ball entries to give yourself the best chance to win. Head over after you've done watching this video and get started drafting a team within minutes. Make sure that you guys go ahead and check out Yahoo Best Ball. Back into it, we have my next top breakout candidate, Darrell Henderson, running back of the LA Rams, underdog ADP, running back #20 off the board, overall pick 53.60, which makes him sit right in the middle of the 5th round. Now, a lot of people right now are starting to get very nervous about Darrell Henderson because with the addition of Sony Michel via that trade with the New England Patriots, people are starting to think maybe Darrell Henderson isn't the clear lead back there in LA, and I believe that to be the complete exact opposite. I believe that they brought Sony Michel in to be the #2 back on the team because maybe Sean McVay wasn't confident in Jake Funk. He wasn't confident in Jones to be the #2 back on the team, and he wanted assurance in case Darrell Henderson was not able to get it done. Sony Michel, like I said, has struggled with a huge injury history in the past. So I do not believe that Darrell Henderson is going to get his job stolen from Sony Michel. So to me, that is really no worry at all. I never expected Darrell Henderson to be some type of workhorse running back in LA after the injury of Cam Akers. That's just not how things were going to end up happening. But I do believe that Darrell Henderson is in a very, very good situation with the LA Rams, with Matthew Stafford under center, with a strong defense, with a team that is going to be able to rush the ball. And Darrell Henderson also is a very solid pass-catching running back. In 15 games last year, Darrell Henderson finished as the RB 36 in PPR as well as in half PPR and the running back number 31 in standard, averaging 8.7 PPR points per game, 8.2 half PPR points per game, and 7.6 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was the running back 44 in PPR, 42 in half PPR, and the running back number 37 in standard. Now, last year, Darrell Henderson got his job taken from him by Cam Akers, and we could have seen that coming from a mile away. It's not that Darrell Henderson is some garbage-ass running back and has no talent and that Cam Akers was easily able to get the job from him. It's just the fact that Cam Akers is a much better running back than Darrell Henderson, but that shouldn't be used in a way or spun in a way to belittle Darrell Henderson, because I believe Darrell Henderson is in a very good situation and he is a talented enough running back to, if he is given the opportunity that he should be given as the lead back in LA, this is a guy that could finish inside the top 12 at the running back position. He had 139 carries last season for 624 rushing yards, as well as adding on 24 targets for 16 receptions and 159 receiving yards with 6 total touchdowns on the season. But if you look back to the beginning of the season, when Darrell Henderson was the lead back week 2 and week 3, as well as week number 5 up against the Washington football team, you can see that Darrell Henderson clearly has enough talent to be able to become a top 12 running back in fantasy football. Now, I'm not telling you that he's 100% going to finish inside the top 12, but at running back number 20 off of the board, there's a whole lot of value for Darrell Henderson. In week number 2 up against the Philadelphia Eagles in half PPR format, he was the running back number 10 on the week with 20.1 half PPR points in that week. Week 3 up against the Buffalo Bills, 19 fantasy points, running back number 11 on the week. And week number 5 up against the Washington football team, 21.8 points in that game, ranking number 6 at the running back position. So if you give Henderson the ball enough, which they should be able to do in these games, because this offense is going to be so much better with Matthew Stafford in comparison to with Jared Goff, that I believe that where Darrell Henderson is going and the position that he is sitting in on this Rams offense, I believe that Darrell Henderson is a complete and utter steal, as well as a breakout candidate that could potentially drop over 1,000 rushing yards on the season and have a potential great year for fantasy football in 2021. Next up, we have tight end of the Detroit Lions. Underdog ADP, tight end number 6 off the board. Overall pick 61.80, going in the 6th round right now. TJ Hockenson, tight end of the Detroit Lions. In 16 games, TJ Hockenson last season finishes the tight end number 5 in PPR, 4.5 PPR, and the tight end number 5 in standard. Averaging 11 PPR points per game, 8.9 half PPR points per game, and 6.8 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was the tight end number 6 in PPR, tied with Robert Tonyan and Logan Thomas. Tight end 7 in half PPR, tied with Mike Licky Amagasicki, and tight end number 8 in standard. TJ Hockenson has been one of the players that I have hyped up most this offseason. And the reason why I am so all aboard the hype train, I'm the fucking conductor of the TJ Hockenson hype train, is because TJ Hockenson is probably the best receiving option on the Lions. I compare him to Darren Waller. Now, I'm not saying that him and Darren Waller are of similar skill, because in my opinion, Darren Waller may be the most skilled tight end in the NFL. But they are in very, 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 very similar situations. For the Raiders, Waller is the clear number 1 target on the team. For the Lions, I believe TJ Hockenson will be the clear number 1 target on this team, amongst a wide receiver group that I'm not really sold in on any single player on that wide receiver core, and Jared Goff is a quarterback that will be willing to throw the ball to the tight end position. Last year, TJ Hockenson had 101 targets, 6.3 per game, ranking 5th at tight end, 67 receptions, 4.2 per game, ranking 4th for 723 receiving yards, number 3 at tight end, with 6 total touchdowns on season, ranking 9th, with an 18.1% target share in the Lions offense, which ranked 10th at tight end. He had the 10th highest target share, and he finished as tight end number 5 in PPR, 4.5 PPR, and tight end number 5 in standard. Imagine now when he could have potentially 23% of the target share. Maybe he gets 25% of the target share, because I am being completely honest when I say this. TJ Hockenson is clearly the best target on the Detroit Lions offense, and this is a team that is going to be fucking terrible. This is a team that is going to be throwing the ball late into these games, and TJ Hockenson being the number 1 target on this offense is going to eat that up. And at the value as tight end number 6, I have him ranked as my tight end number 4. I would not be surprised at all if he leapfrogged over a guy like George Kittle and finished inside the top 3 at the tight end position. This guy is going to ball out in 2021 as the clear number 1 target in Detroit. Next up, we have running back of the Baltimore Ravens. Sadly, not going to be J.K. Dobbins. Gus Bus Edwards. Underdog ADP, running back number 24 off the board. Overall pick 66.10, putting him right now inside of the middle of the 6th round. And don't be surprised if Gus Edwards gets taken in the 5th or the 4th round. In the 4th round, that is very, very high for Gus Edwards, but I do kind of understand it, and that's why he is dubbed as a top breakout candidate. In 16 games last year, the Gus Bus was finishing as running back number 37 in PPR, 35.5 PPR, and the running back number 28 in standard, averaging 8 PPR points per game, 7.6 half PPR points per game, and 7.4 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, Gus Bus was the RB 51 in PPR, 47.5 PPR, and the running back number 40 in standard. Now, those stats are not going to get you all excited for Gus Edwards, but what should excite you is the situation. And I'm not talking about the Jersey Shore. The situation there in Baltimore is amazing. They're going to be one of the most run-heavy offenses in the NFL. Gus Edwards takes over for J.K. Dobbins. Now, Gus Edwards isn't going to be a workhorse back in this scenario, just like with Darrell Henderson, because you know that when J.K. Dobbins was going to be the lead back there, that Gus Edwards was going to be involved. So Gus Edwards now moves into the J.K. Dobbins role, and another running back will be taking the Gus Edwards role in this offense. But regardless of that, we were still drafting J.K. Dobbins with the potential of being a top 12 running back, and I believe, at least in my mind, that you could be drafting Gus Edwards hoping that he could somehow become a top 12 running back based upon the back of this offense being super duper run heavy. Last year, Gus Bus only had 144 carries, ranking 28th at running back, but he had 723 rushing yards, 19th at the position, 13 targets, 9 receptions, 129 receiving yards, and 6 total tugs on the season. Now, he's not necessarily some elite pass catching back, but I do believe, based upon the running backs that are on the team, Gus Edwards will be seeing the most receiving work in this offense at the running back position. Last year, the reason why Gus Edwards wasn't ultra successful is because they used a complete 3-headed running back dragon backfield, a running back by committee with Gus Edwards, with Dobbins, as well as with Mr. Mark Ingram. But it was clear deeper down the stretch of the season that when they stopped using Mark Ingram, that they were very committed to a 2-back system, which is exactly what we're going to be seeing here this season. And with Gus Edwards being the clear lead back on a team that is going to run the ball potentially the number one, the highest amount of times in the NFL, it is certainly worth a pick inside of the 6th round. Certainly worth a pick inside the 5th round. In the 4th round, though, that is a little bit ambitious. Final player to be talking about, final top breakout candidate, is going to be Corey Davis, wide receiver of the New York Jets. But before we talk about Corey Davis, I would like to let you guys know that the Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit is available for season-long and best ball fantasy leagues. The same projections, tools, and analysis that we put into NFL DFS goes into this package, which includes our draft wingman, best ball rankings, and stacking guide, trade value chart, and so much more. You'll receive up to $35 in credit for Underdog and FFPC leagues. You can check this package out, and you can get it for 33% off when you use promo code WINYOURLEAGUE at checkout. Again, promo code WINYOURLEAGUE. That's less than $10 for everything we have to offer for season long and best ball. Just click the link in the description of the video to activate the offer. Again, promo code WINYOURLEAGUE. There's less than $10 for all this stuff. It is certainly worth it, at least in my opinion. Final player, like I said, Corey Davis, wide receiver of the New York Football Jets. Underdog ADP, wide receiver, 38 off the board, overall pick 79.70, up 17.82 slots on the last week. Everyone now is on the Corey Davis train, and I definitely hopped on late. I wasn't an early adopter of the Corey Davis stock. I wasn't someone who was super invested in Corey Davis, but once I saw that Zach Wilson was force-feeding this man the ball, I instantly bought in, because regardless of the fact that it's the Jets, right? The Jets just have a stink around their name. When you think of the Jets, you think of Adam Gase, you think of Sam Darnold, you think of the butt fumble, you think of all types of bad things. But now you need to almost brainwash your own mind into thinking about the fact that the Jets probably will not be bad anymore. And even if they are bad, Zach Wilson looks like he could be good enough, especially if he continues to feed Corey Davis like he was doing in preseason. He seemed to be locked directly onto Corey Davis, which just provides so much upside out of a wide receiver who could be seeing like 8, 9, 10 plus targets every single game, even if that wide receiver isn't of the greatest skill set of Corey Davis. In 14 games, Corey Davis was the wide receiver 30 in PPR, 31.5 PPR, and the wide receiver number 29 in standard, averaging 13.7 PPR points per game, 11.4 half PPR points per game, and 9 standard points per game last season in Tennessee. From a points per game perspective, he was the wide receiver 32 in PPR, 30.5 PPR, and the wide receiver number 27 in standard. So Corey Davis wasn't amazing last year, but he was so much better than what he has been in the past. Corey Davis was one of those very early on draft picks in his draft class that seemed like a swing and a miss. I'm talking about the swing is all the way through, the ball's been in the catcher's mitt for maybe 7 hours, and then the guy finally goes all the way through with the swing. It was that bad. It was like Corey Davis was a certified bust. He completely sucked for a majority of his career until last year. And while I still don't believe that Corey Davis is going to be some type of elite wide receiver skill set wise, he could elevate himself to be an elite wide receiver in fantasy football through volume. In fantasy football, volume is king. That's why we like guys like TJ Hockenson. That's why we like Corey Davis. That's why we have the potential for Darrell Henderson and Gus Edwards to have these great seasons, because they are going to be the volume monsters on their team. Same thing goes with T. Higgins in Cincinnati. So if Corey Davis is the lead wide receiver there in New York for the Jets, which it just appears to be destiny at this point, then Corey Davis has extreme value inside the 8th, the 9th. Sometimes you see him fall all the way into the 10th, 11th, 12th round of some drafts. Last year, he had 92 targets in Tennessee, which is 6.6 per game, ranking 42nd at wide receiver, 65 receptions, 4.6 per game, ranking 32nd, 984 receiving yards, 18th, with 5 total tugs on the season. This guy is going to be seeing a very high target share, just like he saw last season in Tennessee, 23.1%, ranking 25th at wide receiver. So try to eliminate the fact that Corey Davis is on the Jets from your mind and draft a wide receiver that may be inside of the top 10 in targets and in receptions for fantasy football in 2021. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about my top breakout candidates. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below in the comments. Make sure you follow me on Twitter again at NotoriousFNTSY. Thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers on the channel. I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with 2 bangers of a video. As always, guys, stay safe. Goodbye.